My name is Jessica Norwood, and I'm inspired to give I Believe in You money to folks that dare to dream bigger for themselves and communities. This is the kind of investment that signals love in action. Join me each episode as I talk to wisdom keepers, philanthropists, other investors, and entrepreneurs about investing in an economy that loves Black people. This is Believe in You money. Let's start just at the beginning of it. I think I sent over a few questions. But I'm going to start with really just wanting to ground in what does it mean when you talk about and you say right relationship? What what are the qualities of a right relationship?
I think in order for me to talk about right relationship, I have to talk about the framework in which I come to all of these conversations. And so the framework that I come to these conversations from is the framework of radical self-love. We arrived here on this planet imbued with worthiness. We don't have to achieve it. It can't be externally gained. It is simply who it is that we are. And that over time, these systems and structures of exploitation and extraction tell us that in order to be enough, we need some external source. Radical self love and the work of radical self love puts us back in right relationship with ourselves, which is I understand my inherent value, dignity, and worth inside the world. And if I understand my inherent value, dignity, and worth inside the world, then my relationships with other people aren't extractive. They are not about trying to figure out how I get my worth from them. But right relationship says, I come to this experience from a place of dignity. And I come to this experience recognizing your dignity. And from that place, we talk about what it is that we need that allows both of our dignities to remain intact. If that is the place that you desire to offer from, whatever it is your offering is, then the rest of the pieces about bartering for worthiness and good enough, the pieces about how much can I obtain from you to manipulate, all of those things fall away. And what you're left with is an authentic relationship between humans who desire to be whole in the exchange and remain whole between one another. That to me is what right relationship is.
My goodness. Mm, mm, mm. I love this radical self-love and the pathway that it gives us around dignity. And without that dignity, without the dignity of both parties being able to show up, that's how we get that exploitative nature. It just
Yeah.
makes so much sense, Sonya. I appreciate your clarity about this. Just powerful. So
Thank you.
it takes me right into this next piece of conversation, which is how can we move towards this transformational relationship as we think about repairing our dynamic and relationship around finance, around an economy. How do we move there?
We assume like, oh, I have really good intentions, and so that's what matters, right? And I think that what we forget is, yeah, the best intentions in the world. I could intend to make a sweet potato pie, but if I only put in turnips, I got a turnip pie. That's what it is, right? And so the question is, what are the ingredients? What's the foundation in which we are moving into this relationship? And can we get honest about that? Because if you can get honest about the foundation, then you can start to say, all right, what's here that isn't serving the goal of transformation? What's here that isn't serving the goal of right relationship? Let's tell the truth about that. Can we get honest about the nature of the relationship we're in? That unto itself is transformative. And in a society that is built on lying, to tell the truth about what you're dealing with is the first step to transformation.
I love how you think about the body. Sonya is the author of The Body is Not an Apology, but it is the body physically, but it's also the body politic. It's the body as a whole. And that piece about how we don't get honest, right? With the
Mm-hmm.
body, with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves and externally is the first key, as you're saying, to unlocking that level of transformation for ourselves, right?
And I think that, I understand. I always like to be really honest about the fact that, like, I'm never proposing easy solutions, right? I'm never like, oh, it's so easy. It's not, right? I think it's simple, but I don't think it's easy because to get honest then means that we have to tell the truth about what we have been. I came from a retreat recently, and one of the questions. They had three framing questions or intentions that you moved into this retreat space with. And the first one was, show me who I've become. And if you really sit with that, with the inquiry, show me who I've become, some of it's going to be beautiful. Some of it's going to be like, wow, you really did that, sis. And then some of it's going to be like, oh, that's who I become. Oh, right. And so there's a part of us that's really afraid to reckon with what these systems have made us. And I think one of the greatest pieces of radical self-love work that can be offered in the world, it's like, if I can start from a place of grace, if I can start from the understanding that I didn't make myself, right? Like, that's actually the only place where I think intention really matters, right?
Again, right at the height of the pandemic, I was on a call with Center for Economic Democracy, and I think this might have been like April, right as the pandemic is like really hitting hard. And we were posed with this, the Grace Lee Boggs question, what time is it on the world clock? And I don't know, maybe in my frustration or wherever I was at that point in my life, I just yelled out. I don't think it was with a lot of thought, but I said, what the question is, what would it look like if the economy or financial system, if it loved Black people?
The wage gap between Black women workers and white male workers would cease to exist, right? The idea that someone might be able to swap out in their home their photos of their family for white people's photos and then have their appraisal shoot up $300,000-$400,000 would cease to exist. When we're talking about anti-Blackness and the experience of Black folks in the US, we're talking about a global system of anti-Blackness. And the darker you are anywhere in the world, the worse you're faring off economically, socially, health-wise, etc., right? And so I think that if we're talking about how do we, what does an economic system look like that loves Black people, it means that Black people get to live vibrant, prosperous, abundant lives with the resources that they need to do that. It also, an economic system that loves Black people repairs the damage it has done to Black people. That's first and foremost, right? So an economic system that loves Black people has already cut the reparations check to the people for the hundreds of years of enslavement, exploitation, and marginalization that it has inflicted on us, right? Like the gymnastics that we go into for why it can't be done and all these things, it's just an example of a commitment to not loving Black people. That's what that is, right? But here's what I think is amazing, right? Is that consequentially, what happens is when you love Black people, economic system, you do better. And you continue to deprive Black folks so that, and the only thing you get out of it is the ability to say that you feel better about yourself. Like, no indicators reflect that, just that you get the idea of saying I'm better off than Black folks, except you're not.
It is one of the most liberatory, fun experiences of my life to be able to make those connections for folks, to be able to move resources to people and to see their faces light up, to see the relief and the relaxing of the shoulders and the tension in the jaw leave and all of the things, and to be able to dream, to be able to open up that place inside of ourselves to imagine something else being possible, to unlock that creativity and imagination is just beyond for me. It's like, I want to do that every day, all day. And thankfully I get to do it every day, all day. So the question here is, what are some of your favorite examples of investing in Black joy?
I would like to think that The Body's Not an Apology was absolutely an investment in Black joy. I was like, I believe that us returning to the essence of our own divine nature, right? And like getting outside of a loop that somehow has told us for a billion reasons, right? As Black folks, that we are not good enough. We are never going to be good enough. This body is inherently wrong and bad, right? The idea of dismantling that such that we might have greater access to the embodiment of our own wonder, that we might unlock this technology that is Black joy more readily, brings me delight. And every time I run into someone, I've been in 3 countries since I left, and in 3 countries I've had people who have recognized and followed the work or read the book come up to me, and first of all, it's just mind blowing. I'm like, why do you know me, person in Costa Rica? Like, why? But there was a Black woman in Costa Rica who came up to me and she was like, "It's you." I was like, "Hi," but there was a joy that something that I had shared in the world had offered her something, right? And that she got to see that reflected in real time. I I delight. Nothing warms my heart more than just somebody sharing with me, some Black human being sitting someplace in the world reading The Body Is Not Apology. It makes me tear up every time I think about it. It's great, great, great joy. But the other thing I want to say, what I love the most about Black joy, and which is why I'm glad that I get to even participate in it, is because in some ways, Black joy is so indifferent to whatever the extenuating circumstances of the world are. Like, Black joy just is. I describe it like the sun. The sun doesn't need your invitation to shine. It was going to shine anyway, no matter what it is you've tried to do to us. We simply embody joy because our joy can't be contained, because it lives outside of the circumstances of oppression and marginalization. And so I just get to be, like, I just get to be happy. My life is a result of people saying, "I believe in you and I'm going to invest in you." Over the course of um, what was, I think, 16 weeks, over 6,000 people donated and cleared $118,000 worth of my student debt. And by August, I no longer had 12 weeks, I guess. By August, I no longer had any student debt. All of a sudden, the broke student with tons of debt, putting myself through school, navigating, a parent with addiction and, like, all of this trauma, all of a sudden, that thing that I had so convinced myself I had to do alone, it was like 6,000 people came behind me and were like, "We're going to actually go back and walk with you through this entire experience." And something was literally it. I was like, "Oh, this is how you alter space time." That is what Believe in You Money has the power to do. It has the power to go back and heal the traumas that people thought were never going to be healed. It was miraculous, and every day I just wake up and I'm like, I cannot believe that happened to me. Yeah,
I love it has the power to go back and heal the traumas and have 6,000 people walk alongside you and say, well, whatever part and whatever measure they have, I believe in you.
I believe in you.
It's just, it's breathtaking. It's wonderful. I'm so happy it happened to you because I also see how you are also able to then create that space of opportunity where it happens for someone else as well and just keeps giving and giving and giving. I think that's the part of it that really is also miraculous about Believing You Money is it pays forward. It continues to go
Absolutely.
forward.
Absolutely. It's like
Yeah.
tapping into an unending well, right? And that's what makes me so sad is we don't do it because we have all these scarcity beliefs, but it literally is an unending well. It's like it just wants to keep generating itself if we let it.
So the question here is what are some of your favorite examples of investing in Black joy?
Oh my goodness. I'm a deep believer in, like, give it away because it comes back, right? Like that literally when I find myself like clogged, I'm like, it's time to give something away. It's time to release something so that the flow of energy can move again, right? I really, I have an interesting relationship with home, which I think is part of the reason why I'm just flitting about the planet right now. And so, one of my favorite gifts of investment in Black joy has been in helping the people in my family secure homes. It has been such a beautiful, 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 beautiful gift. And and in some ways I'm clear. I'm like seeing, I'm like, I ain't never gonna be homeless. My family's like, girl, you got a room here. And it's been such a beautiful gift to to see the possibility of of stability, of groundedness, of like, oh, I can raise generations here. They can raise generations here. They can raise generations here, right? So, and recognizing that inside of the United States, one of the historical roots to economic self-efficacy has been home ownership, and Black people have been so intentionally and strategically denied access to that is one of the huge ways, in a material sort of money way, of investing in Black joy. I would like to think that the body's not an apology was absolutely an investment in Black joy. I was like, I believe that us returning to the essence of our own divine nature.
What advice would you give? And this will be like one of our final questions. We can riff for a second after, but what advice would you give somebody who's thinking about showing up to invest in Black innovation, Black joy, who wants to put this believe in you money out in the world? How would you advise them? What advice would you give to them around creating this economic system that loves Black people?
Yeah, the first place is where we started in this conversation, which is, can you get honest? Can you get honest about your intentions? Because here's what happens is, a lot of times we're like, oh, it's believe in you money. But it's not. It's actually like, boost my self-esteem money, or here's a way in which I can control and navigate power money, right? Like, so we got to get honest. Everything that you need to know the next right step is inside of you. And the more that you remove all the other gunk, the clearer that weather vane becomes, right? It really starts to get really good at direction. And so once you do that clearing work, then say like, lead me. Just let this be the prayer to the universe, to the trees, to whatever it is that you believe in that is beyond yourself as an individual. Lead me to the place where I can be of greatest service. Lead me to the place where I can be of greatest service, where this believe in you money demonstrates the greatest, most profound belief that I can share with another person.
This is our time together, Sonya. Thank you so incredibly much for the generosity of space and just being a champion for me and a sister friend on the side for me. I just appreciate that so much.